All right, anybody got the window up? Sometimes it takes a minute. Let me see if we're live. I'm hogging up all my bandwidth, so.
Looks like we're live on my tablet.
All right, there we go. Looks like we're live. So, Kennedy, you gave me some homework last week to bring some instances of socialism as successful. And you know what, man? I can't find any, because under socialism, right, the population always gives away certain rights for whatever the socialist offers. A weekly check or a monthly check, a month of vacation, guaranteed housing that you only have to pay, $500 a month for, whatever, rent controlled prison cells like Alphabet City in New York, say, made out of cinder blocks. That. They'll give you a job if you want one. It's not going to be a great one. You're probably not going to like it. So I don't see any benefit except for the extremely lazy and worthless. But I guess in that respect, it is a success because less people become cops because they can just sit at home on their ass and do nothing and still get paid for it. They don't have to go out and beat up their fellow humans and throw their fellow humans in cages, like there's some kind of wild ape or whatever. And I don't agree with wild apes being in cages either, by the way. I think that we need to leave them the hell alone and build a wall around where they live so nobody can fuck with them. They deserve their own space. That's my personal conviction. I've never seen a really happy animal in a zoo that wasn't a fish or a reptile. So anyway, I couldn't find any successes in socialism at all. Nationalized healthcare is
where they've won against us. But in terms of when we're looking at them, when they make a proposal like, let's do socialist education, and then people are like, yeah, let's do it. And then we try it out, and how's it turned out?
Yeah, it's garbage. It's shit.
People online are filming people asking them basic questions, and like average people don't know how many states there are in the country, and like people think it's a democracy, and like all these weird ideas that are just common.
Can I quote a socialist on democracy and see if you guys know who said this? Democracy is the bed upon which communism is conceived.
It really is. The problem with capitalism is socialism, which is weird because.
Anyway, it was Stalin. Stalin said that. He knew what was up, but he was a criminal, so he went along with it. He was a bank robber. You know that, right? Or a train robber. He robbed trains and shit. So of course he's going to go along with it.
Yeah, on first thought, I thought it would have been Kennedy, right?
Well, look, Kennedy.
But my better answer was going to be that I don't answer questions if you asked.
Yeah, well, look, here's my take on the Kennedys. Not this Kennedy, but the Kennedys. That's what you're referencing.
Right.
JFK was on to something that is the foundation of the criminality of our government, okay? And no matter how you feel about the guy's politics, that's what got him killed, because he saw the plan and he was going to stop it. Of course, he's going to replace it with whatever he wants, but guess what? It still would have been better than what ended up being what we got today, because along the way there would be corrections. And Kennedy wasn't really a socialist, but he did come from a crime cartel family. But how do we balance 100 years of Kennedy criminality with him saving the world from a nuclear holocaust? And they absolutely did that.
In case anyone doesn't know, JFK gave a speech about secret societies, and that's what he's talking about, where he exposed that we're supposed to be a free and open society essentially, and that's not happening. And we've got the military-industrial complex pushing for all sorts of conflicts that don't probably need to happen. But if you can sell all these weapons for all this money, then there's a reason for somebody to keep pushing for something to happen, more wars, eternal conflict, really.
Yep, exactly.
All of the political parties, to tell you the truth, the Democrats and the Republicans are both leftists. Every time they get up to the presidential podium, during the debates, they say, one of them will say, I'm raising education spending 10%. The other one will say, I'm raising it 5%. But both of them are moving towards leftism. That's government. Left is liberal. Liberal means lots of government. So if it takes a lot of government in order to do something, that's leftism.
Absolutely. And look at the amount of government that we have. Did we lose Let's? What happened? Maybe he'll be back. Oh, well, we're not going to wait on him. We'll go ahead. So in essence, I found no successes for regular people like us in socialism, because it always ended up with this big fucking government like what we got now. Listen, if you have to have a license to own a dog, or to get married, or when you're a little kid to get a bicycle, that's fucking socialism, man, right there, in its most base form.
Yeah, it's leftist control, and maybe there needs to be in my book, I use the example of the USDA. Both a conservative and a liberal could both say that we need something like the FDA, is it FDA? USDA, so that like they check steak.
Right,
USDA.
right.
So right now, that's a government operation. That's a liberal point of view. That's leftism. And then the conservative would say, maybe he would say, we do need that exact same thing, a service that is going to check up on the meat situation, grade animals, grade them for the, it's a grade, it's a prime steak or whatever, right? But the conservative would say that needs to be a private company, and probably a whole bunch of private companies would pop up that do this type of inspecting and stuff like that. And they would gain different amounts of credibility, and someone would win out, and they would have like great standards for the way that they do things. And so that's the conservative way. The liberal way is to have a government appoint some bureaucrat to run other public employees that are going to go ahead and enact these rules and stuff like that. But the problem with that is that it always costs a lot more, and you always get a lot less when you deal with this top-down control nonsense. It needs to be a company based on good fundamentals and morality and economics, and not just like throw money at the problem until it like appears to go away or whatever. So understand that both sides could believe in the USDA, but the conservative would want it to be private, like a private company, whereas a leftist wants it to be government. And we need to understand that these political parties, they're not doing that. What they're doing, the Democrats and the Republicans, they're both left. Just we're going to increase the spending on military, 10% here and 15% here. But the problem is they're both doing that, and so they're both leftists. Like Trump, pick the guns first and stuff. Is that a conservative? No.
No, and everybody glosses over that.
Sorry.
No, everybody glosses over that statement. Like they want to pretend like he's the gun guy. He's going to protect us. No, he's not. He's part of the nobility. And what did the nobilities do with the bows and the arms? They took them and they put them in the kingdom's armory, in the arsenal, until they were needed to fight somebody outside of the country. That's why we have a fucking Second Amendment in the first place.
Yeah. So And then he wants to indemnify police, whatever that means. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter
he,
what
he wants to give
says.
them absolute immunity, and that's never going to work.
Well, it doesn't work because there's still 14th Amendment equal protection under the law. So no matter what Trump wants, he's going to pass an executive order, which doesn't hold force of law, remember.
Yeah,
Congress makes laws, not the executive branch, not the judiciary either. So Congress is who makes laws. So like the drug war started with an executive order. And then the internment camps, that was an executive order. It wasn't even a law. No
yeah,
one had to follow it.
Yeah,
Cops aren't sworn to executive orders. No one is. It's just, honestly, an executive order is what you give, like, the employees of the corporation. Essentially, like, it's a, make sure you use number 2 pencils or something. That's an executive order. Like, it's not like a new law,
Right. It doesn't have, it's just like Supreme Court decisions. They're not law.
Right.
They're just not. They're just not.
Yeah.
So, socialism has been a complete failure for street level people like us. Absolutely.
Right. It works really well for people that are doing these socialist contracts, though. Okay, so there's a guy in your town that does all of the tires for the police force and the fire department.
Sure. Yep.
Now, that dude there is, socialism's really working for him. I mean, if his kids are getting dumbed down and like everything's like kind of failing and people are getting pissed, is it working? But for his bottom line, yeah, for his economics for that day, certainly it's working for him. And it's all in your town. All of these teachers and stuff are getting a lot of, good salary jobs. And they don't really
exactly
have to work. They don't ever get dirty or anything like that. Like there are
like
people
cops
sitting from in your town. But the thing is, they're the non-productive ones. They're the ones that are just like sucking up all the stuff that the rest of us are producing.
Well, you were talking about the guy who does the tires for the police department or the sheriffs or the whole damn county in the city or whatever. You're right. He's creating jobs and he's adding value if you value those things, and we don't. But there was a day, when the pigs had their own mechanics. That was a thing. They didn't contract out. They hired somebody that was a mechanic and they built a little garage and he worked there and they bought tires or they leased them. That happens a lot with, city vehicles and city contracts. Those tires are leased, right? So when they fail, they send them back to be recycled and they just get more, right? And they pay such and such money a month, but they're instead of being completely socialist, back then they were creating a job. At least one position in that whole police department was useful and productive. If you value the socialist system.
Job now needs to exist. You're taking away the free market's ability to say, now this job is worth so much that it exists. It's going to exist on its own because the need is there, right? But because it all comes down to the socialism, it's like there's like a paint to all of it. Because even just that mechanic in your town, literally half his income comes from the city. And now you're coming in and like maybe you have a problem with something. Like, does he really value your business, or is there somebody else's business who means more to him than yours?
Or is he giving you the same deal, right? I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
You're the one paying for that second-class citizen status. Go ahead.
Right. Well, what I was trying to say, being rude over, we have some lag going on. So, is he offering you the same deal that he gives to the city? Is he giving you a discount like he does to the city for your job? No, he's charging you 100%.
Unfortunately, we don't know exactly what the deal is. It doesn't matter because it doesn't come out of the socialist's pocket. Even if it is out of the socialist account, the city account, it's not out of his pocket. That's why supervisors and stuff didn't really work with these socialists. Like all the buildings in town work, except for these public buildings. And every one of them, all you find is like some employee thinks he's the king of everyone and just thinks he's here to tell you where to stand and what to think about everything, like literally everything. Write your name here, put your address, give me your social security number, literally, like you name it, and some servant somewhere is asking for that information right now. And it's like, they don't have real supervisors. Like a real business has an actual manager that's in that place because he like earned his way into that and stuff. It's not that way with the bottom of society, the servants.
Right.
They
And
don't have like good managers and good people because no one's really experienced. Nobody's ever had real jobs. They just basically like screw around on Facebook half the time. Have you noticed this? Like they're terrible employees. And if they had a real supervisor that actually lost money because of their delinquency, then that guy would actually be taking care of it. But it's not coming out of their pockets, so no one cares. That's why these buildings just don't really work. You'll get a janitor showing up telling you what to do. It's like, dude, what? Learn, like, honestly, learn your place, learn my place, and just honestly, what are you doing telling me what to do in a public building? They believe it's their own private property. It's like the craziest thing. Like,
yeah, it's the socialist. It's part of the socialist criminal mindset. Your thoughts on socialism and politics, because it all comes down to politics.
Well,
anytime the politician gets a big social contract, a big socialist funded, public funded, that's what that is. Public funded. We can say communist, but we're not communist because we still have private property. That's the only difference. That's it. Private property. So, there's a large private sector that pays all the bills. That's what that means. And
right, and that's us.
Work because there isn't this private sector that's actually struggling to produce and then selling those goods and then producing for enough money for the government to go ahead and do whatever it is that they're doing. The government just gets more money though if they don't have enough. So that's another problem. But
yeah, they just print more money. Okay, I want to hear your take on it.
Well, I was just sitting back here thinking about this, the whole premise, kind of trying to wrap my head completely around. And we're really talking a little bit about the movement at one time to defund the police. If the police were defunded, not that we're anti-police, we just want them to realize that with their current treatment on breaking their oath and not treating the citizens, be it a sovereign citizen that they claim us to be, or just a citizen that is tired of their bullshit. And I try to say that with all dignity, respect, and honor to anyone with decency, respect, and honor in the judicial system or any of these powers to be that are either unable to apologize for their actions or want to continue to live in their corruptness of their tyrannical mind.
Yeah, you got a good point there. But when we talk about the police, we're really talking about the armed mercenary power of the state, and that is socialism. It's socialism. So it's all part of that socialist system, is the argument that Kennedy is making. But it also includes everything else. And I don't know if you heard me say this or not, but I think you were away. If you have to get a license for a dog or to get married or to practice your profession, to be a carpenter, to be a plumber, to be an electrician, that is fucking socialism. All you should have to do is go to the city or the county that you live in and take a test, and that's it. You shouldn't have to pay for a license. We want a practical, and we want some written stuff to prove to us that you could do a little bit of math, and that you have some kind of fucking reading comprehension. Because if you don't have reading comprehension, how are you going to read those technical specifications? You're not, because that is like the most difficult kind of reading. Anyway, that's those three things that I mentioned are the very simplest expression of socialism. And if you don't do those things, you can be fined, which is redress from public servants. And that's kind of what I want us to talk about next. The fact that politicians of any kind, from the president.
Address that real quick, what he said.
Yeah, go ahead.
So defund the police. Right now, that's on the Democrat side. But that's a conservative value, because you're saying tighten the belt on the government. And when you're saying defund the police, what you're really saying is we need to have private security, right? Instead of public security. So public is, it's paid through coercion, and we don't really get what we pay for, because
we get the exact opposite. Yeah, we get the exact opposite, man.
Us. So
yeah,
it's not working, and the reason is that they're not accountable the way that real people are accountable. Essentially, your boss is going to be pissed when you don't deliver what your mandate is. And to tell you the truth, cops, their job is to serve warrants. So are they delivering on their mandate? No. I mean, It's not close. It's like literally, it's not even close. They show up and create disturbances and disrupt our business. It's like they tell us what we can't have and how tall we can be. And it's ridiculous. Like, no matter what is going on, they're going to say that's the issue. And it's just what it is. It's like some weird housewife hiding behind the blinds. It's like dictating all of America, because it's like they made a call. Like,
what would you think would be the ultimate goal for that mission back then, to defund the police? What were they actually rallying
into private, to security into private? To be conservative, we're saying small government, because they don't operate well with funds. If you give them a whole bunch of money, 40% of it is lost just to like bureaucratic nonsense and just people taking advantage of no real supervisors being around and hauling off packs of whatever paper or something like that.
Yeah.
So a private business takes care of everything more equitably, and then they get to the bottom of it. They start utilizing technology sooner than public buildings and stuff. Like, the public servant is really like good at just doing as it's told type of a person. Whereas
they're robots.
American is always striving to cut its costs, and compete with others that are doing the same thing. And like, it works with these private businesses, but the public businesses, they're not working. And it's all about, they don't even believe they work for us. They'll tell you as much.
So would it be fair to say that if we're against, or as society, we tend not to be teetered to that point where we're going to accept that premise? Can you follow that?
Well, it's too late, as Kennedy will make the argument that most Americans are too willfully stupid or ignorant to see their actual value as human beings and as Americans. But Kennedy will also point out that the Constitution of the United States applies to everybody on the planet, because they can come here. Anybody can come here. And this whole, oh man, yeah, we could go down a whole rabbit hole with this.
Well, is it the laws that the police have to enforce, or is it?
No,
See, that's wrong too. They're not really even law enforcement. They're actually, they serve warrants. That's honestly what their job is. To serve a warrant. Because here's the deal: it doesn't matter what law you break. What matters is if you've got a citizen that's standing there like, he did it, it cost me this, I'm an injured complainant, I want to press charges. That's what matters. That's the whole of American law. Is
Yep.
that you have a complainant.
Okay.
Then a warrant may issue. That's
Yep,
what we
exactly. That's the law of the land under the Supremacy Clause. The whole beginning of the Constitution, it says these rights are indelible, basically. You can't do anything to change any of them or to subvert these rights. That's the Supremacy Clause right there.
Yeah.
You know, it's given to us by the Creator. If we choose to call him God or Pinocchio, it doesn't really matter. Endowed to us as human beings. We are, as far as we know, the dominant life force on the planet. I would argue that viruses are definitely winning. But anyway, that's probably a good place to, I want to show you guys something and get your take on this. This is going to be our segue into the next.
This guy was just chilling on a sidewalk holding a Pepsi. Then these cops pull over to question him. Seems like having a soda is a crime in their book. But the guy won't take it and puts them in their place.
What you got there, man?
What do you mean?
What kind of beverage is that?
What does it
like a
matter?
Pepsi.
Stay your distance, please.
Stay our distance.
Yeah, I don't want two guys with guns coming up on me.
Oh, we're police officers. Maybe you
I
didn't
don't
know.
care. You guys are rolling around and crubbing up on me with guns. Back up.
Police officers. We're here to serve and protect, sir. Well, our job is to make sure the community's safe.
That's some
People are-
Gestapo stuff when you're going to stop for everybody
blocking-
holding a can anywhere.
No, not everybody holding a can anywhere.
Just me?
No,
Do you have a reasonable suspicion?
yeah, we do.
What is
Holding a
that?
can.
Holding a can is a reasonable suspicion.
Okay, I guess that's not really going to work out all the way to the end, but you guys get the gist of it.
That's awesome. Can I comment?
Yeah, go ahead, man. You got the floor.
Okay, so reasonable suspicion, that's not standard. Standard is a warrant. It's spelled out in the Fourth Amendment. There's one problem with the Fourth Amendment that people get confused on, and it's reasonable. And that's why they believe that Terry v. Ohio can work. Because what's reasonable? Well, guess what reasonable is? It's the warrant.
Anything. Yeah.
It's the warrant. That's the reason. That's
Right,
what
that's the
warrant
reasonable element.
That's what reasonable means, is the warrant. So warrant is a synonym for reason, but it's like a reason that's written down.
Yep,
And
yep.
so-
It's
There's that one word in the Constitution that has confused all of these auditors essentially. And it's reasonable. What's the reason? It's the warrant. And how do you get the warrant? Okay, so an injured complainant needs to swear a statement of damages. The judge will go over that and determine probable cause. Only judges determine probable cause. So he needs to be asking for a warrant. If not, there's no business. And then, okay, if there's no business, meaning no warrant, no reason for him to be messing with him. That's what warrant means, is the reason. That's what it means, literally. People don't understand that, so I'm saying it over and over again, I guess. But so if there's no reason for him to be dealing with him, a warrant, then now the cops are creating a disturbance to this citizen. Now they're disrupting his business. His free passage is his business, right?
yep. It should
So
be.
now they're disrupting his business. Now he can be a complainant against them because now they are violating the citizen, which means they're violating the community. I mean, they're disgusting. They're criminals, like straight up every time. It takes
Yeah, and they're traitors, man.
a crime on these guys. You can develop probable cause on them. You don't need a warrant to arrest the cop. You check your state. You need to check your state law on citizens arrest. Then you check state laws on things that you think are going to apply to you. Things like disorderly conduct. You can get a cop on disrupting your business in my state just by saying you're disrupting my business. After you leave, you're trying to be cordial about it. He won't go away. He's just there to harass you. He doesn't really understand what he's doing because he doesn't really know that his job is to serve warrants exclusively. He doesn't really get it. And they just kind of encourage it at the police station. None of them know what they're even talking about at all.
Yeah, they don't want to hear it. Yeah, they're making money. They don't want to hear it. Okay, so here's what Ohio says about citizens arrest. And I'll have a question for you after this. Section 2935.04. When any person may arrest. When a felony has been committed or there is reasonable ground to believe that a felony has been committed, any person without a warrant may arrest another whom he has reasonable cause to believe is guilty of the offense and detain him until a warrant can be obtained. Okay, so what is a felony?
It requires a felony.
Right. So, is it a felony to violate my rights 5 fucking times in 5 minutes?
Yeah, that would be, that's a federal offense, deprivation of rights under color of law, and then also conspiracy against rights. That's 18 U.S.C. 241 and 242. Those are felonies.
Yep. Okay, so they're felonies. All right, gotcha.
They can be charged as felonies, and I'm not sure what else they can all be charged with as. You can actually use those to charge a cop with a civil suit. Those 2 crimes. And then you can also use them, let's see, it explains that there's a distinction between like if someone's actually seized and moved or not, it makes it a certain, maybe a capital offense at that point, I think. And then below that, there's felony. You're going to want to look them all up. They're in my book. So.
Of course. Yep. I'm pretty familiar with from 240 to 242. There are some other ones that, live on the edge of my brain and I don't quite remember them because I'm not, I've expressed this to you before, Kennedy, I'm not really a thinky person. I'm more of a builder and a creator. I'm not, these things just float around in my head as random concepts that you have helped me gel to a certain point. But there's so much to know. But, we've got it at our fingertips. So, there's no excuse for not having it on hand anytime you need it or before you go to get, because you have to get a warrant, right? You send the cops to their supervisor. Go ahead and surrender yourself to your supervisor for disciplinary action, and then you go get a warrant and you make yourself the complainant, right?
You can do it however you want. I mean, there might be a circumstance where you actually have to take a person, with your tool or something. But I'm not suggesting that necessarily, unless that's a necessity, right? There'll be
I think that it would.
If you do,
yeah, look,
all the way up to it. Basically, all you have to know is what's in the Constitution. So it's going to explain to you what a complainant is. It's a person that writes the complaint of damages, and they get it to a law enforcer or to a judge. My citizens arrest law explains to me that I can take someone in front of the judge if I arrest them. So I could physically grab them and put them in my car and we're going to see the judge, literally.
Right, like you don't have a choice. Yeah, that's. I may have to read into more of the code here in Ohio, but let's thoughts.
I'm thinking that really all it boils right down to is the education. Not a lot of people take out the time of their busy day and their hectic work schedules to be able to comprehend all the different facets involved with people out there that are interested in having a change. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to burn or throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're trying to have a reasonableness that happens here. And I think it has to begin at the grassroots to a degree, like we could say the three of us here talking tonight to our audience, that we'd hope that one person in that audience is picking up what we're trying to put out, and in turn they might people like that might appreciate someone like Ken Burns, who puts out these fabulous documentaries on baseball or how we began flight back just late into the 1900s, that would actually walk us through. Now, a person that comes to mind for something like that was, and it's Chile, obviously, and that was a one.
I gotta break in, because the man to do the job is right there in the upper left. That's Kennedy Walker, and that's what we're doing right now. Yeah. Now look, if we can get Chile, and Harvey gets it almost. He's so close to getting it. Phylax is very close to getting it. Long Island Audits is way out in left field picking fucking daisies. Chile, I think, he's bright enough and open-minded enough that he could also become a mouthpiece, but the guy is right there. His name's Kennedy Walker.
Well, no, I'm not trying to throw any shade on Kennedy.
No, I get it. I'm just making the point. It's us. It's Kennedy.
Right.
He's the teacher. We're the students, man. And so is everybody else.
Well, it comes down to citizens arrest. I mean, If a guy doesn't stand up and say, "Hey, you're the one committing the crime," then does he even deserve? What does he deserve? If you're just going to sit there and argue with the cops for 40 minutes about gibberish, like, what do you deserve? Like, you need to, I mean, seriously, get real with it. Like, what do you deserve? You need to, come on, man, start speaking your rights. I hope you read it at some point. Say which ones you think are pertinent, and then start giving some lawful orders. This is a servant we're dealing with here. Like,
right.
Everybody out there, like, I'm glad you brought up Long Island Audit. His style is so ridiculous. I find that he's out here basically convincing people that all these nonsense laws that they've passed that don't even mean anything. Like, for instance, he's really big on these signs. Oh, it's a restricted area, or isn't it a restricted area? It's like, dude, the whole building's a public building. Stop pretending like crossing some magic line in our building is going to be a crime. It's not. You still have a Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your person. You still don't get to seize me unless you have a warrant signed by a judge based off an injured complainant's sworn statement of damages. These damages. He hurt me this way. Not, I'm sad. Oh, he's in a public building. I didn't want him there. I just didn't want it. Like, that's how these servants are. Like, they should be writing in crayon. Meanwhile, everyone's giving them all this credit. It's
credit for what? Right.
You're treating them like, oh yeah, let's respect these people. No, but let's treat them like what they are, which are they're such idiots. Essentially, they can't even earn their own living. They've had to come to a public place to get employed where they cannot be fired. Essentially, is what's going on. They needed that. They fell into this because they tried working real jobs. It didn't work. They found out sweating wasn't their thing, So they wanted to go sit somewhere and play on their phone. But, and that's what they are. So, yeah, we got to go straight to the citizens arrest, straight to the laws. It's not, you don't want to have too many conversations with these people because they don't know anything. You got to read the actual Constitution. Read Article 6, the Supremacy Clause, figure out what laws are above everything else so that you know what is nonsense. Because guess what, man? It's 95% of the laws. They're gibberish. They don't apply to you. Either you're securing your person and they can't seize you on the side of the road, a traffic stop. Like, our society is so degraded that we don't understand that a traffic stop means a traffic seizure, which is a violation of the Fourth Amendment requirement of a warrant or any search or seizure by our government against us, right?
Exactly. I want to make a comment about Long Island audits. I can't stand his style, but the dude, he's got a presence, and we need to edify him and somehow get through to him that the stuff that he's arguing is exactly what you called it. Or Hunter Thompson would say, awful gibberish. That's what it is. It's just bibble babble. And that's why we need lawyers, because only lawyers can understand bibble babble.
If the
They're
law
taught.
is testable, then let me tell you something, it's useless. So if it can't just be understood by the common man when he says, hey, I read the Bill of Rights, it said freedom of speech, what are you talking about? It's not as complicated as people are making it out to be. They're like, well, state law says that I only have to identify if I committed a crime. That's such a dumb thing. You have the Fourth Amendment. You're securing your identity already. Who cares what the state law is? It's null and void. It doesn't apply to you. It just doesn't apply. Maybe it applies to someone, but it's not you.
Yeah, unless it meets the three criteria to be an actual crime, you would have to violate someone's rights, deprive them physically of property, or what's the third one? I can't remember. Right, there has to be physical damage. Right, you physically harm another person, harm their property, or steal their property, or violate their rights. Those are the only three things that can be a crime.
Well,
those are the benchmarks.
Number one, it's injured complainant.
That's right.
So it's just the one thing. And then maybe you're saying something the courts interpreted or something like that. But what it is an injured complainant. So you're going to state what your injuries are, and then the cop is going to say whether or not it's criminal, which means it's his business, or it's civil, which is not his business. And so, yeah, it could be exactly what you listed. Sure, but really what it comes down to, the only thing you really got to focus on is, do you have an injured complainant? Is there somebody that's like over there saying, it's him? Because if not, you have a Sixth Amendment right to face your accuser. You can always have these cases thrown out in court just by, you look around the courtroom, just like in Chili's trial. He should have looked around the courtroom for a complainant and said, Your Honor, I object, Sixth Amendment Confrontation Clause. Where's my complainant? I have some questions for him.
Where's the injured party?
What?
Yeah, where's the injured party? Also, in his altercation, that was, all the charges were purely fiction.
There's nothing
And no, right, he can't be the injured person because Chili didn't violate him at all.
The cop could have quit his job and went home, and then what? Chili didn't commit a crime then? And that's what he should have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
he's not the complainant. There's no injured party. So, yeah, you can just move for dismissal right there at trial. But really, you want to say that to the cop immediately. You're not a complainant. If he's getting to that stage, remind him, you're not a complainant. And get a supervisor, right?
Right, and that also, when they're in their governmental capacity, okay, when they're on duty, they don't have constitutional rights to use against us. They don't get to redress us. They don't get to do that. That's not how it works.
Right.
In
order to have the right to redress you.
Right, they don't have that right. A servant
or search you.
Right. The servant doesn't go to the map.
Stop a traffic seizure, right? To stop you on the road at all. They need that warrant. Without it, it's illegal and it's disorderly conduct. So here, that's a misdemeanor. In your state, you're going to be wanting to look at the felony charges. Look up official oppression in your state. Look up aggravated assault, where they pull a gun on you. Cops like pulling guns on people that for no reason, right?
Yeah, those are a whole lot of charges right there. There's a a grocery list of charges just for pulling a weapon on somebody.
Right.
Dog is having his day.
Can we wrap this up right now? I got someone at the door. I need to take care of.
Okay. If you, is it going to take a long time, or because if it's just going to be a few minutes, me and Let's can just keep babbling.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, what do you think about all that, Let's? I mean, it sounds really, really radical, but everything that Kennedy is talking about is exactly how the Constitution was meant to work.
Oh, I think we can all agree that the way the Constitution was designed to work isn't like it's working today. I mean,
No.
and
No.
and it's. I think we can also agree that a lot of the arguments that get put forth to try to change that are a prime example when you were talking about Long Island audits. He was one of the first people I watched when I got into watching so-called auditors. I watched a few auditors and just tried to learn myself about what exactly they were trying to have changed. And the premise was, hey, I'm coming in with a camera and I'm going to record my public servants and the performance of their duty. I'm not going to bother anybody. I'm just going to stand here and I'm going to record. And lo and behold, the next thing you know, I'm in this conversation with people that don't want me to be in a public space anymore because they feel uncomfortable. And he goes about it in a really nice way, but the altar argument is that you have other individuals that might use a more harsher tactic. People always say you go further with sugar than you do with vinegar. It's that sweetness versus a bluntness or a nastiness or a harshness. But however you attack it, usually when you're making an attack, it's to the problem. And where Kennedy says that we should be, that, yeah, I would agree. I would agree wholeheartedly that the only reason that a police officer should be approaching me is if I'm committing a crime in his presence and he can see that I'm beating up somebody or I'm murdering somebody or I'm walking out with stuff that doesn't belong to me from a store or whatever those crimes are. If that occurs, well, does he still need a warrant for that to take place if it's committed in his presence?
No, those are the things I call them common law. That's how I learned it, was studying common law back in the 90s. Those deprive somebody of their rights, deprive them of their property or damage their property or physically harm another person.
Right.
Those are the only things that these pigs should be able to accost somebody for. Reasonable suspicion is not reasonable, and it's not suspicion. It's just, it's more of this awful gibberish that the pigs puke on us to make us think that they're doing something that's justifiable. And it's not, because it doesn't meet those three elements of being an actual crime.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're on the street and you're not stealing, murdering, or those elements that we're talking about, and a police officer should not be able to approach you without a warrant. And the only way that he would be able to, without that warrant, means that maybe he had some suspicion at one time, knew how you acted, and that's how we kind of got to the Terry versus Ohio statute. You know, if you
No, it's okay. I got to correct you there because Terry versus Ohio is in no kind of way the law of the land. It's just a decision passed down by the Supreme Court. I like to use this analogy, okay? The Supreme Court is to the Constitution as the Pope is to the Bible. And, you know, I was raised Roman Catholic until I was 10 years old or something. And, you know, I can tell you right now that most of the Pope's edicts, because I sort of pay attention to it still, that's all they are. That's all the weight that they carry for a much more important thing than what we're talking about.
Right.
But the Constitution, no, you know, I'm going to retract that. I'm going to say that the Constitution is even more important than the Bible because it is inspired by the freedom that we're supposed to have and the moral center and the at least the attempt at righteousness is right there in the Constitution. Every single bit of it is good. All of it is good. It never wasn't good. It's always been good since, you know, those slave owning rich white guys wrote it way back in the day. Well, guess what? They weren't, by the time they got to writing the Constitution, most of them weren't rich anyway. They were ruined men because they spent all their treasure to arm their local groups so we could have the revolution in the first place, or to pay for food or uniforms or whatever, firewood, blah, 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 on and on and on. You know, so, you know, they were men, but they were smart enough and moral enough and righteous enough to understand that, you know, if we don't have freedom, we got nothing. And the Constitution is our only defense against this crap that's going on now. You know, period. You know, it's last show, I don't know if you watched it or not, but me and Kennedy were talking about, you know, morals and being honorable. And these people that are in charge are neither one of those things. None of them are honorable because they've all broken their oaths. You know, and they're the opposite of those things. They're the opposite of those things. And those things are the things that the Constitution was meant to preserve. Meant to preserve those things. You know, and you made a comment about sovereign citizens. Well, I got news for everybody that thinks sovereign citizen is a thing that you have to declare, because we're all sovereign citizens according to the Constitution. It's been taken away from us by these pigs, you know, the politicians, from the president all the way down to, you know, the dude that takes the money out of the parking meters, or the janitor that kicks, any auditor out, or tries to, you know.
No, we're always going to have there's always going to be that varying as our teeter-totter tries to swing hard one way or hard the other way, and there's always going to be an opposing force. And I just say that if we just all tried to just imagine what would be the loss if Terry versus Ohio was overturned. I understand where we're at. I mean, why not? What would we have to lose?
That you have a belief in Terry v. Ohio, and the judiciary doesn't make laws. So the loss is that we're operating on a faulty playbook. How are we going to win if we're not operating off of the right playbook, which is it's the law? So what's the law? It's the Fourth Amendment. What's going to change that? Honestly, you'd have to have, I think, it explains it in the Constitution, but I think you'd need to have like a 2/3 majority or something like to repeal something. But here's the problem. We're not creating rights with the Constitution. We're numbering them. These are what we found of God-given rights. So you have a right to a dog. You know, it's not in the Constitution. It's a Ninth Amendment right, though, because you have more rights than what is enumerated in the Constitution. So the thing is, just the belief in Terry v. Ohio, that's the fault. That's where everyone's going wrong. these cops are out here enforcing Terry v. Ohio, but they didn't take an oath to Terry v. Ohio. They took an oath to our laws. You understand what the problem is?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not interested in what the cop comes up with as reasonable. We're only interested in what the judge says is reasonable, because he's the elected official. He's the one that determines if a crime has been committed based off an injured complainant's sworn statement of damages. So it's very specific, so that some idiot, which these cops, I consider them the lowest of society, they can't even get real jobs, they refuse. That's what it is. They refuse to sweep floors. They refuse. They just refuse to pack water buckets around the job site. They refuse to do this stuff, okay? And so because of that, they just sit around all day and they never progress. And so why are we listening to them? We don't listen to them. They're just idiots. We've elected a guy, though, that isn't an idiot, we think. We're not sure. We think he's not an idiot. And so that guy needs to either sign this warrant, and then the cop can serve the warrant. Otherwise, he doesn't have an education. Why should I have to deal with someone with such a poor education coming up and bothering me? I'm a free American. Why is it that his deficiencies, his inadequacies are now my problem? They're not my problem. They never were. This is America. And basically, I get to be the rank that I am, that God made me, not what some servant determines. So he's either going to show me a warrant or he's in violation of the law. And it's a felony or it's a misdemeanor, whatever you want. But no matter what, I didn't come up with the law. It is a violation of the law to just come up and bother someone without a warrant. So that's a crime.
Well, it's redress. Yeah, it's a public servant using redress against the masters. Okay, Terry v. Ohio is just it's a decision. It's not law. It's not a federal statute. It's not even a state statute. It's a policy, right? It's a policy of the Supreme Court.
It's a violation of the law.
Absolutely.
They're guilty for passing Terry v. Ohio. First off, we're talking about like it's a Fourth Amendment holding. Guess what? It was a Second Amendment case because it was about Terry's gun.
Yeah, it was about a black guy having a gun.
So, yeah, it was about his race, right? And then they just, it was essentially that they committed a crime against Terry. And now people are out here like, oh, we should respect Terry. No, Terry was a crime. It was a deprivation of Terry's civil rights. They deprived him of his property right. He has the right to his property. They deprived him of his Second Amendment right. He has the right to his gun. He wasn't committing a crime. And this is when the future crime crap started. Like, that's what these restricted areas in these public buildings are. It's nonsense. And what it is like, it's pre-crime, where they're saying, oh, because you're in this area, now that means that you already committed the crime that you could commit, which you could take someone's documents and you could fill out a loan application or something like that. And those would be like crimes against the person, right? But
right, those would be real crimes.
You could commit that crime just because you're here in this restricted area. So now you're guilty, but you're still not, because A, there's no injured complainant. You're still securing your person unless a warrant is signed for you. You can't get a warrant because you don't have a complainant. All you've got is public servants running around crying, which that's all they do anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I think about these restricted areas in these public places where we should be able to go. I mean, we paid for the fucking thing. What it does is it creates an area where these useless socialist parasite servants can conspire against us and do their dirt, man. That's all it is. Okay, I understand if the police department doesn't want me going into the arsenal. That should be under lock and key with a dude by the window. It should be part of like the property room, right? The arsenal should be at the front of the property room. That's probably the only place, except for maybe if they have an actual felon who hurt somebody or stole something or deprived somebody of their rights, they need to have a holding cell because they need to go to jail. I agree with that. That should be a restricted area also. Their records that they keep. All of that shit is public record. It should be available to us whenever we want to look at it. It should be a library of all of their reports and all their official documents.
Yeah,
Because we can look up any. Yeah, right. It's all public.
Available. It's a public building. And
Yeah,
public.
right.
So,
That's right.
Yeah,
We're the people.
Accountable for if we commit a crime with that information. Sure, fine. Right.
Yep.
Then there's a complaint. Like you filled out someone's faulty loan application with someone else's information. Now that person is an injured complainant against you, and you can go to prison for it. But as far as the pre-crime stuff, yeah, it's just servants out of control, delusions of grandeur. That's what it is.
It's a very dangerous.
Delusional. They the king.
Yeah, it's a very, very dangerous thing, and I don't believe that your rank and file street level American has any comprehension of how fucking dangerous that is, because they just make shit up. And I have one final word about Terry versus Ohio and the Supreme Court in general. All they do is provide fuel and excuses for these socialist parasite servants. That's all they do. They have no rights. They're public officials. They're not even really part of the judiciary, right? I mean, technically they are, but they're not. They're like the Fed and then the Mint. They're two completely different things, right? I mean,
that is a private corporation.
Right, exactly.
Supreme Court justices, that's the Supreme Court. That's the highest level of the judiciary.
Right, so they can make laws, but Terry versus
Congress makes laws.
Congress. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, right.
Judicial makes decisions. So if they can't hold on a second. I have a question that's been burning in my mind for like 20 minutes. And there it goes. It slipped away from me. Okay, go ahead. Jesus. I'm hopeless.
Two different examples. Okay, there's Terry v. Ohio, which violates your rights. And then there's Marbury v. Madison, which affirms the supremacy clause of the Constitution. Okay, so while Terry v. Ohio violates your Second and Fourth Amendment rights, Marbury v. Madison, it upholds the supremacy clause. So those are two good examples, because the court gets to decide on the supremacy clause in Marbury v. Madison. Is the Constitution supreme? And they said, yes, it is. And anything that violates it is therefore null and void.
Right.
Okay.
So how does Terry How does Terry happen then?
So, I mean, yeah, it was a violation of Terry's rights. And they publicized it. And then it doesn't change anything, but now cops think that it does. They believe that it does. And so for them, it does. They will go ahead and I have reasonable suspicion. That's what they'll say.
Yep.
Well, if it's overturned, like they were successful in overturning Roe versus Wade, if it was overturned, we'd be living in a world where, unless they had a warrant, they couldn't.
It's already been overturned. Every time that courts affirmed the warrant requirement, that was overturning Terry, and it's been done a million times.
Right.
They've done everything in the time that they've existed. It's literally irrelevant what they say, because they'll choose the same circumstances in two different instances. One's a crime and one isn't. And they've done that a million times by now. So every time the courts respected someone's Fourth Amendment requirement of a warrant, that was overturning Terry. So anytime the Supreme Court, since 1972 or whatever, has went ahead and respected a defendant's requirement of a warrant for a search or seizure, that was overturning it. And it's just like, it's just not, publicized or something, it didn't mean anything in the first place. The law was always the Fourth Amendment. Supremacy Clause declares it. Later, they came up with the 14th Amendment that says Congress shall make no laws abridging federally protected rights. And that's no Congress. That's not your state legislature. That's not your city legislature. That's any council. No council can come up with any law that violates your rights that fall under the Supremacy Clause. So it doesn't matter what they come up with, because these rights are enumerated, God-given rights. They weren't given to us by the Constitution. They're just listed there. We have more than them. So you have a God-given right that people acknowledged, and then Harry v. Ohio comes in and says it's not a God-given right. It doesn't make sense. It never did, because it's the judiciary who only gets to say, honestly, is it constitutional? Is it not constitutional? That's all they got to argue about a law. That's all. If someone challenges it, they get to say, is it constitutional? Is it not? But as far as Terry v. Ohio, that was just nonsense. The lawyer was terrible. He didn't invoke his second. I don't think he did. I'm not exactly sure now. It's been a while. But he didn't invoke what was really going on, that it was a weapons issue, and then it was a private property Fourth Amendment issue. I mean, and then
Yeah, it doesn't-
also the right to assemble issue, because he's just hanging out in public, right?
Yeah, he's associated with his buddies on the corner or whatever.
Hold on a second. The lawyer doesn't even argue any of the relevant points, and then now people want to point at that like it's some example that you should look at. It's like, no, that was a terrible failure, and it's been overturned 100 times. All right, go ahead.
Oh no, I forgot what I was going to say. Hey, look, I think it would probably flog this dog long enough. I want to watch another video with you guys and see what you think. Hopefully, this one will work a little
Well,
bit better.
judge violated the constitutional rights of a man that he ordered to apologize to a police officer. It's an intriguing case that could lead to a lawsuit and courtroom showdown. News 4's Jacqueline Lambert joins us. And Jacqueline, this story. Well, a judge violated the constitutional rights of a man that he ordered to apologize to a police officer. It's an intriguing case that could lead to a lawsuit and courtroom showdown. News 4's Jacqueline Lambert joins us. And Jacqueline, this story keeps expanding.
Bayla, yes, it does. Now, one of Ozark's best known and sometimes controversial attorneys is in the mix. David Harrison believes Ozark Municipal Judge Nicholas Bull violated the Constitution. He's talking about Bull's demand that Reginald Burks must apologize to the officer who issued him a speeding ticket.
I think that there's a lot of confusion about it.
Attorney David Harrison believes that the situation Reginald Burks has found himself in has nothing to do with the speeding ticket that started this ordeal. He says it is about freedom of speech.
That there is protected speech. And
Well, a judge violated the constitutional rights of a man that he ordered to apologize to a police officer. It's an intriguing case that could lead to a lawsuit and courtroom showdown. News 4's Jacqueline Lambert joins us. And Jacqueline, this story keeps expanding.
Bayla, yes, it does. Now, one of Ozark's best known and sometimes controversial attorneys is in the mix. David Harrison believes Ozark Municipal Judge Nicholas Bull violated the Constitution. He's talking about Bull's demand that Reginald Burks must apologize to the officer who issued him a speeding ticket.
I think that there's a lot of confusion about it.
Attorney David Harrison believes that the situation Reginald Burks has found himself in has nothing to do with the speeding ticket that started this ordeal. He says it is about freedom of speech.
That there is protected speech. And protected speech is protected by the Constitution. It's protected by the First Amendment. That is, you can say things, and that is protected.
Judge Nicholas Bull ordered Burks to apologize to the officer who gave him a speeding ticket last December. That's in addition to the $200 fine Burks shelled out this week.
Well, I'll give you the rest of the story. So he called the guy a bunch of names. He called this pig exactly what he was, and probably called him a piece of shit, and all the other wonderful expressive adjectives and inflammatory words that we can use according to the First Amendment. And you know, the judge didn't like it, just like the judge in Chili's case. She couldn't stand that he was dressing down those pigs in the audience, right? So the judge ordered this dude to make an apology and threatened him with jail if he didn't write one. So this to me is like the ultimate form of servants redressing masters. Lex, I'm going to let you go first, man. You have your say on this.
You know, whether we attack it as a start, some people like to attack it like ending qualified immunity. Well, the argument against qualified immunity is unless you actually reverse Terry versus Ohio, if we're going to operate on the current chessboard that we're operating on, or at least they're operating on, that when we call pigs because they've earned the title of being pig-like, you know, they get into places they shouldn't be, and they multiply, and they just imagine what it'd be like if we can't go any further than where we're currently at, and we don't like it. Just imagine a world where Terry versus Ohio was overturned, and what steps would be needed to get there. Does it take every citizen that believes that police should still be able to be police to take care of the criminals, the people that are raping our women, you know, the people that are stealing from us and fucking up with our crops, or however they want to put it? Let's just let them put their freaking hands on us unless we've actually committed a crime, or we've been suspected of a crime and they've done their proper investigation and they've come back and they say, yeah, that's the guy that stole the horse, or that's the guy that raped the wife.
How are you going to investigate me? You're going to show up and ask me a bunch of questions. I'm going to tell you I have a right to remain silent. You're going to say, let me see your documents. I'm going to say I have a right to be secure in my documents. What is your investigation? There is no investigation.
Well, nowadays, an investigation can conclude looking at video evidence. So if you're suspected of a crime and they do an investigation and they find your ugly ass on a fucking video stealing, raping, or pillaging, then they could come up to you, walk up to you. They'd probably have that warrant in their pocket then. But any other time any other time, leave your fucking hands off me, pig. Simple as that.
What it is you don't need a video camera because you already have an injured complainant that swore a statement of damages, and that statement went to the judge, and then he determined that, yes, there is probable cause to issue a warrant. Now, that's America. If you don't like it, that's your fault. That's your problem. Okay? But the law is the Fourth Amendment. It's not Terry v. Ohio. It was never Terry v. Ohio. No one took an oath to Terry v. Ohio. No, not even one person. It's not the law. It's just what people that don't understand who creates laws consider to be the law.
All right.
So you don't need the videotape in order to show that a crime has occurred because you've already got a sworn statement of damages. It's in the Fourth Amendment. It describes how you get a warrant.
But in order to get a sworn statement of damages on certain crimes, you would have to have either a bunch of people all conspiring against you to get that statement, to be able to hold up in court, to be beyond reasonable doubt in some cases, or beyond the preponderance of the evidence. So what has been the game changer? What's been the game changer is the fact that a lot of these improprieties have been caught on camera. And what I've just learned within the last week or so is that if the public officials and police care to be so upset about a person holding a camera in public, filming them in the performance of their duties, that maybe a lot more citizens should just have body cameras running all the time. They're carrying them around. Maybe we make a jewelry out of it. So it's like we have our own body camera. Everybody does. And nothing everything would be recorded. It would hold these people more accountable because they're more apt to do exactly what they always do when they realize that the camera's not on them anymore, because they don't see the guy holding the camera up. They forget that the camera
is not going to press charges, and neither is an American. Okay, so we're in the same spot. We're in the same spot regardless. Now, what it is the American needs to stand up and say, I'm the complainant, you're the defendant, and you committed a crime against me. And cameras are fine for getting to court and stuff, but dude, if the American people won't stand up and say, all right, servant, you're a servant, then we're not. I mean, there's nothing to talk about, because you'll get all the video you want, just like these auditors. They dangle themselves, have the cop commit crimes against them, file civil complaints, nothing happens. So, it's on camera right now. Nothing happens.
Right.
So that's why it's got to go to just criminal. And then what do? We can just ignore all of case law precedent because it's not the law.
Right. The law is, the law, the ultimate law of the land is the Supremacy Clause, which says that the Constitution is above everything else. That includes policies, decisions by high court judges. It covers all that
judges'
shit.
Orders. Let's get back to that clip a little bit, because judges' orders, what does that mean? Well, it's another judge. He doesn't make laws, for one thing. He's not an executive, so he can't even order the employees of the government to do anything. He cannot be in his judicial capacity. He would have to leave his judgeship, and he would have to become a citizen, and then he'd have to find another judge to take his sworn statement of damages.
Yep.
The warrant on you.
Yep. Go ahead, Lance. What's up?
Well, I had a gentleman in the chat that I had talked to before we went live here. I don't know if he's still in the basement or not. Probably not.
Was it Jonesy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him there. I saw him there.
I mean, I don't know if he's still there. He might have some interesting input toward that. But whether he's there or not,
Well, I'm not sure. Told you the law. It's the judiciary doesn't make laws. So what is the judge's order?
It's bullshit. It's nothing. It's a turd.
Look, I might be
you can call it any way you want.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's a turd that you have to polish so it looks better.
Yeah. So I might be the only auditor in the country that's filmed in a courtroom, and it's because I know that I don't have to obey judges' orders. They're not for me. I only have to obey the law.
Right, and the law says nothing about not having a camera in the courtroom.
The law says freedom of press, and it also says I'm secure in my property, which my camera would be a property right. And then,
exactly.
As far as really what it comes down to is you need a warrant in order to stop me anyway, or seize me.
Yep.
Take me to jail or any of that stuff, or my property. So again, warrant. So that's why I got into a courtroom and filmed, and I think I'm the only one. I mean, they tried to stop me, but I wouldn't let them, and I threatened them with arrests. I should have just made those arrests. I went ahead and pressed charges on those cops that were standing in my way, though, because they're criminals, man. It's like,
well,
dude,
they're
you are your way, then you respect what I've done for you, servant. But since you don't, you just think it's nothing, and like you are not accountable to me. But that's not how it works with me, man. I'm gonna go ahead and make the arrest, or I will file the charges, which I already did file the charges on them. Like, don't get in my way. That's not your job. If you've got an idea in your head, go and take care of yourself. That's truly what it is.
Exactly. Exactly. You're not wrong about that. Let's see. Okay, so I had another clip that I was wanting to watch with you guys, but I'll sum it up for you since my buffer speed is fucking terrible. Okay, so it's a single dad. He's got this kid that has special needs, and the kid was, staying, like he wasn't learning anything. He was, starting to physically atrophy and stuff because the school was not providing the service that they were supposed to. And he kept complaining and complaining and complaining at school board meetings about it and writing letters to, the school board and all this other stuff. And these people had the nerve to file lawsuits against this guy because he insisted on them doing their jobs. I would love to see that shit stand in a court of law. That's something right there.
Civil is a totally different thing. I don't know a lot about it. In the end, though, you do have a right to address your government, and they're a government entity. So it's pretty nonsensical. But to tell you the truth, man, if you hand your kid over to the Nazis every day for brainwashing, you don't give a shit what happens to your kid. I mean, flat out. It doesn't work putting them in these public schools. It simply doesn't work. And you're like, you went to public school, why do you know anything? Well, because I've spent a lot of time studying personally.
Right, you read outside.
Nonsense when I'm talking. I'm citing laws. I'm citing, the Constitution, how the government is structured, which branch of government we're talking about. It's not just, well, some people think this, some people think that. No, I'm not here wasting my time with that crap.
Yeah, well, I kind of look at the big picture. We're not happy with the way things are, and we have to look at the law enforcement officer that some people would like to be called if they earn that title, and others will call them pigs. And then there are some jackboot thug pig types. But they're our first point of contact with the justice system, be it with your warrant or without your warrant. So if they're our first point of contact, they're like the doorman. And then if you get past the doorman, you get to that customer service counter. And that's like the VA. That's the one that decides whether you get a room or not, right? Well, if you've got a reservation, you're good. You're good. You've got a reservation.
What you are, you're like a whipped puppy, okay? And you're just looking to master to give you some scraps. Honestly, okay?
If you go,
you gotta learn how to invoke your rights. You need to learn how to be in control of these people. These are the dumbest people alive.
They're dumb as fucking rocks. That's not
their fathers didn't teach them anything. They didn't give them a trade. Man, I was a mason by the time I went to college. So for me to listen to some idiot that literally just never learned how to take care of himself, it's totally beyond anything I'm going to ever even consider doing. Ever.
Yeah,
you don't play with these people like they're foreman and all this crap. They're servants, okay? And they're all socialists. That's their name. It doesn't matter if you're talking about military. It doesn't matter if you're talking about teachers, cops, the judiciary, Congress. These are all socialists. And socialism is the problem around here. It's all these people that are willing to just be like, I don't have a fucking brain. Sign me up. Take me to Afghanistan. Did we even declare war over there? No. So
no, we haven't declared war since the Korean War, I believe.
Yeah. So
but that could
nobody. It's the socialists that's failing us. And as long as we keep treating them like middle management or something like that, no, these guys they're servants. They have to be told what to think. They have to be told what to do. You walk in and give them lawful orders. Hey, you're creating a disturbance. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. All right, but at this point, you're creating the crime of disorderly conduct. I'm trespassing you from this public building. Oh, I work here. Oh, so you get to commit crimes, huh? Dude, they're just idiots. You can't even listen to them. You can't even respect them. You don't even let them finish their spiel. You just tell them, like, bud, I don't even know what you're talking about. Just show me the warrant. You just sound retarded. Show me your warrant, otherwise we're done. Get out of here. Like, it's literally that. And if they don't, that's a crime. That's a crime. We keep looking at these guys like they're kings, and dude, that's what confused them in the first place. It's treating them too well. Now they think there's a king. It's like, dude, we have to get serious with these people and let them know who they are and where their place is. And honestly, all of these auditors are screwing up. None of them are issuing lawful orders. None of them are issuing citizens arrests. None of them are pressing criminal charges. Most of them don't even cite a law by the time they're done. Most of them are just like, what law, what law, what law? Oh, case law, case law, case law. Oh, state law, state law, state law. It's like, dude, cite something that counts for something. You know, if you were trying to say something, spit it out. Like, dude, there's a law that describes what you're talking about. I want to be securing my person. Fourth Amendment. Unless you have a warrant. Like, dude, just keep bringing it back to the point. Because, yeah, you guys can all consent to be under Terry v. Ohio. That's fine. Everyone can. You can all do that. I'm not going to do that. So
You don't have to. Yeah, well, you know,
I'm seized because it was suspicious. I'm going to explain to him that he doesn't have a warrant. And I'm not seized.
yeah.
Well, I don't disagree with anyone's position here. I'm just trying to work toward that middle ground.
No, wait. I gotta inject here. I have to inject, man. There is no middle ground with these people, and that's what Kennedy's saying. They have no fucking flexibility at all. They serve us. The Constitution says that they serve us, and they have no rights. They have no rights to redress. They have no rights to put their hands on us, minus a warrant. They have no right to interrupt us when we're moving. They just don't. And I understand where you're coming from, but
it's words. It's words that it's not necessarily
what
I'm saying.
Of war is not peace. It's slavery. So you're either at war or you're in a state of slavery. So you pick, and you choose with whatever you're happy with. But you got to pick. Either we're in charge of them or we are subservient to them. They think right now that we are subservient to them. They think that they literally can get upset at us and make us leave our own property, our own building, even our own homes. How many times have I had the cops trespass here? A bunch. They don't believe in our property like straight communists. And the way that was paid was with good intentions and cooperation. And like, dude, it's brought us down this path of just like, dude, we're going straight red, straight communist threat here.
Well, yeah.
And no one even knows it because we're educated by the socialists themselves.
It's whether we try to attack and treat the disease, or are we just going to try to attack the symptom?
And I like talking about how to arrest these people. Okay, so you look up state laws on citizens arrest. You look up some state laws on disrupting your business. You look up some, it's not all these fucking fairy tale, like these sayings that you've heard over the years. This is why sovereign citizen movement hasn't accomplished anything. Because instead of people are talking about what it is, they're just talking about, well, we got to get over the hill. Oh, we got to meet them in the middle. Oh, it's like, come on, man. What it is you got to use citizens arrest. You got to be the complainant. You can't be screwing around. Like, you got to be the complainant. You got to be the guy standing up and saying, it's him. It's him. And as long as everyone does that, like the whole problem with the cops is over. And to tell you the truth, it's over for me now. I don't have Terry v. Ohio problems because I don't put myself under Terry v. Ohio. I come right out the gate with where's your warrant. So for me, the cop problems, they're over with. I only do this for other people that are going to speak platitudes with the cop instead of like, here, get to the point. Fourth Amendment securing my property. Hey, where's your complainant? Sixth Amendment Confrontation Clause. placing younger citizens arrest. 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law. Like,
But
we have state law here that says that we can stop you. Okay, well, 14th Amendment, Congress shall make no laws abridging federally protected rights. And then Supremacy Clause, hey, you know what Supreme right? Yep, it's our amendments. So, freedom of speech, fuck you, right? Right to redress our grievances, fuck you, right? Keep it moving like that instead of like, oh man, these auditors. It's
You
like
can't,
that.
dude, you can't reason with an imbecile. And cops and
You
public
want to.
servants are imbeciles. They're imbeciles, man. And you're never going to convince them by playing their game, is what I'm saying, Let's. We can't. Okay, the way that me and Kennedy believe things should be done, I haven't tried any of this stuff yet, but that is the only way that we're going to ever avoid a fucking civil war. It's the only way we're going to avoid outright street combat with the fucking pigs, because look at how they're treating us, man. And if they would just do their jobs and quit being jackboot thug pigs, guess what? They wouldn't have to worry about going to work every day like they do, the fucking sissies that they are. They kill 1,300 of us a year, and 48 of them get killed, and it's the end of the world. It's like that line from that the Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker says, a bus of soldiers gets blown up, and everybody goes, "Oh my God!" Or nobody cares when the soldiers get blown up, but when a bus full of children falls off a bridge, everybody loses their minds. It's the same principle. It's a bad analogy because everybody should be horrified when a bus full of kids, driven by a socialist, by the way,
allegedly,
right, driven by a socialist off a bridge, right, and a bunch of socialists getting blown up in a troop carrier. Same thing. Look, I was in the military too, and I do have respect for, I don't know, man. Look, the military has become the police for Congress and the Senate, and let's face it, corporate America, and that is socialism. That's socialism, and it's expansionist communism.
Yeah.
It is. It just is.
They'd be American militia otherwise, but they're not, because now it's socialized.
Well, we can blame the English for global combat. They started it.
The who?
The British. Well, in modern, whatever, they brought it to the point now where a country to exist and protect itself from outside threats has to have a standing military.
Whenever another country starts collectivizing, then shit gets dangerous for everyone. And
right, exactly.
Organize something. Yeah, it's a downfall of capitalism. But then again, think about this: if everyone's buying their own, military hardware and stuff like that, and then when the people actually believe in the war and Congress actually declares it, then guess what? It's the people that are actually going to foot the bill. They're going to buy their own bullets. And that's a real patriot. That's someone that's literally getting their blood, sweat, and tears, years of their life. They've gotten ready. Nowadays, these guys, like for instance, the guy at the Social Security Administration was Army, and he trespassed me because I invoked my right to remain silent with him, and my right to freedom of press with the camera. And he also wanted to question me about weapons, which I invoked my Second Amendment. He trespassed me from my own building for that. That's Army. So Army is no longer it's no longer honorable. They don't. None of them are following their oaths these days, or any of them. I'm sorry to say it. I know that you were in a different time or whatever, but the time you were in, we were killing Picos. So you should at least know that what I'm saying. It's like, I'm not the one that decided socialism was bad, but in places like Vietnam, we fought communism with socialism. And guess what? I guess we won because now China's socialist. just like we are. And, but Vietnam and the Korean conflict and World War II, these things all increased the socialism to where now they're out of control. They go to war with anybody. We can't stop them. No one can say anything about you can hold a sign. It's like,
Right.
dude, if anybody was honoring their oath in that entire chain of command, somebody would be getting dealt with, but they're not. They're just there for honestly, for the capitalist money.
Well, it's part of
in these neighborhoods that are military. And it's like, you guys aren't socially struggling the way that us capitalists are. You're getting a cushy place to live and you're going off and committing crimes overseas. And then you're pretending to be fucking heroes forever. And it's not what's happening. Just like that army guy at the Social Security. It's like, dude, these are my constitutional rights. That's all I did is invoke them. And they trespassed me. They said that I was making threats. They make up a bunch of stuff. I mean, the servant, man, all they do is lie. That's all they do. It's like they just have no backbone, and they just go with whatever, get that paycheck. They'll just do it forever. To me, it's upsetting.
No,
like, my brother was a Marine in Desert Storm. You guys both served in the military. I almost joined the Army. It was between that and college, and I just got lucky, essentially. But would I do it today, join the Army? Hell no. Now I know what it is and stuff. I have to stay away from all of that. Anywhere someone's going to check your pee in a jar, it's not a regular, real job, to tell you the truth. Like, maybe there's a few of them, crane operator or something. I don't know.
No, you definitely got to pee in a bottle if you're a crane operator, for sure.
Yeah, but are you going to be excluded for smoking weed yesterday? Or are you going to be
Well,
that's irrelevant to me.
Well, the First Amendment, gives us the freedom of religion, man. And if your religion includes,
not with your job. So your job can require.
Oh yeah, because it's private. It's private, right? Yeah, they don't have the restrictions of the Constitution because capitalism wouldn't work.
The
Not
one
really.
restriction would be the 13th Amendment. It's that no one can enslave anybody else.
Exactly. But some of these jobs, man, I've had some jobs that felt like slavery. Like you're subject to coming in when we call you, and you're going to work 12-hour shifts 4 days a week.
But you could quit,
Right. My favorite one is 3 12-hour days a week. You're part-time and you get no benefits. That's slavery, man.
Well, if you can quit, then it's not slavery.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you work for the government, then it is.
Well, you can still quit working for the government.
Yeah, exactly. But the 13th Amendment is coercive slavery, right? Like I'm talking about, literal, not literal slavery, but it looks like slavery, right? We all live in that. That's a whole other 3-hour show. Talking about economic warfare.
It's not a different show. It's the same show. The reason that we don't have all this extra value is because we're taking care of these gigantic military budgets and all these cops just run around committing crimes against us, and all these teachers to produce people that turn 18 and they're not qualified to sweep a floor or unwilling, right?
Yeah, public schooling systems are only prep school for prison. That's all they are. They don't really teach you anything of value anymore. I was lucky. We've talked about this before. I went through a school system that was blessed with plenty of money locally, right? Because it was a really rich, relatively rich community. It wasn't Martha's Vineyard or
You-
anything
let me
like
tell you
that.
something. You would have had a much better education just going and spending a month at the local machine shop when you were a kid, or going and spending a month at the rubber factory or at the farm or you learn so much. We're pumping all this cash into this thing that it's not producing good results. And the problem is that since it's extorted money from my property tax, like, it's my problem. But if it was private, your kids and your choices with them, that would be your choice, and not my business, right? See, but the thing with the socialist is this shit is our business.
It's our problem. We got to deal with it. And until people can wrap their heads around what exactly is going on and the exact definitions of it, like you've enlightened me a lot. Like all you had to do was say socialism once, and I sat back for a minute and I thought about it and I went, he's not wrong. He's absolutely fucking right on the money, because these people, all these bureaucrats are fucking useless. You know what the Vikings did with bureaucrats? They chopped them into little fucking pieces because they were useless. They were good for nothing. Good for nothing. Oh man, the problem is that the American people don't realize all this, that they just can't wrap their heads around it because they've been propagandized and brainwashed and held in this ignorant state of stupidness. It's ignorance. I mean, people are stupid because they don't want to get rid of their ignorance. That is the definition of stupidity, is somebody that, because a guy who has an 85 IQ can still learn anything that he wants to learn. He's going to sound stupid and he's going to look stupid doing it, but he can run a fucking lathe at a machine shop. He can weld stuff together. I've met idiots that, extreme idiots that were real good at whatever they did. But man,
trade and being a super genius.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, it's a real thing, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it takes muscle and it takes comprehension. And believe it or not, even morons can. Yeah, even a moron can learn how to comprehend how to use a fucking caliper. It's really not that hard. They can learn how to use a depth gauge.
Perfect. That's why my audits, I don't do a lot of audits. I've only done, actually, they're not even really audits. They're just my personal business. Because I don't care really about the cops that much. They don't bother me because I know how to deal with them. But I will record for you guys, and so getting into film in the courtroom, it's like, dude, that's here because it's perfect. It's like, it's what we're doing, what these auditors are doing, the Long Island audits, and then they're totally screwing up. Even James Freeman, he's not a Freeman, is he? Doesn't he have plates on his car and stuff? Even though he's been a Freeman for like 12, 15 years, which I like him. I like his sense of humor and stuff. But as far as what he's getting to in the law, it's like, dude, most of these auditors do not have the knowledge that you would gain just from reading the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Well, I think the problem there is everybody, like you said before, they're caught up in quoting statutes and decisions and case law and all this shit that doesn't matter, when the bottom line is the supremacy clause. It all comes down to those two words. If a law is repugnant or contrary to the Constitution, it is not a law. It is just bibble babble. That's all it is. That's all it is.
So that brings us to one of the other things that I wanted to get into, is that these auditors are walking through these x-rays.
Yeah, Fourth Amendment violation.
Fourth Amendment violation, and plus they're trying to take your gun, so that's a Second Amendment violation.
Yep, all because of policy and state law.
Totally in denial of our rights over in favor of their policy, which is bullshit. That's where the cops are. We have a Second Amendment to protect us from them.
Exactly. Well, what they've become, I'm not convinced that American police haven't always been the way they are now. I'm not convinced that they've ever been the good guys.
When the Constitution was written, there weren't police. It was a private slave catching organization. But
That's right.
that's the thing is, our laws are not designed to be used in conjunction with this standing army of police. They're just not. They're designed to be used for a free society, that's how I use them. That's why if a cop wants to come up and bother me without a warrant, now we're going to be getting into what crimes he's committing against me. Not this little stupid investigation of his. I'm not taking part in it anyway. So
Right.
if you're here to disrupt my business, you don't have a warrant. I've already asked you to leave. You know what? I don't like the states that require felonies because, you know, why do you have to punch them? Why can't you just slap them across the face? You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get my guys back into, you know, I'm not trying to have anybody executed. I wrote a book called Treason. Do they deserve execution? Well, that's what the law says. If they took part in the drug war or any of the other wars against us, I'm not necessarily standing for that. I want them to get back in line. Really, I don't even want to hire different employees, to tell you the truth. I'm just not that interested. Like, just get back in line, obey the citizen. When he tells you to leave, you gotta go, man. Unless you got a warrant. Because if you don't, you're disrupting his business. I'm a complainant, while the cop is not. So it's not on even ground. And everyone needs to get out of this idea that the cop is. It's not just that we're equals, and it's not that the cop is above us, which this is what people believe. It's actually the exact opposite.
Yep.
It's without a warrant. You can give him lawful orders. You can seize him without a warrant. He doesn't have a right to freedom of speech with you. If he says something that you don't like, you could charge him with disorderly conduct or maybe a threat or something like that.
Aggravated menacing. This is the word that comes to mind, the words that come to mind when I watch a lot of these cop videos, when they bust somebody's window and then they drag them out. Whenever they're doing something really heinous, that's, or they're threatening to do that. That's aggravated menacing, dude. That is aggravated menacing. What's that?
Those are mostly all state laws. So it depends on the state.
Well,
all states are a little bit different. In my state, touching someone is harassment. In another state, it could be battery. In another state, it could be assault.
I'm going to have to drop out here.
Hey, thanks for coming. Let's.
I did just want to make a closing thought.
Sure.
I guess there's different ways that people can think that what the actual problem is, or how we got to the problem, whether it's ending qualified immunity will stop what's happening, or Terry versus Ohio will stop what's happening, or going right back to what you're saying. I agree with I'm not faulting you for your faults. Don't fault the people for
listen, the law is written down.
The goal is to stop the cops from doing what they do.
Okay, listen, hold on. Everything you're saying is nonsense, just like what the auditors do. Okay, let's take a look at what you're saying with qualified immunities. You only qualify for immunity if you're not violating someone's constitutional rights. Are they violating someone's constitutional rights? They always
absolutely. Every day, all day. Every day, all day.
Law. Judiciary doesn't make the law. That's a fact. That's not debatable. Like, no one gets to argue about it. Congress makes laws. That's not a debate. The law is the Fourth Amendment. It's a requirement of a warrant. It doesn't matter what the Supreme Court has thought about or wrote down or any of that. It never It doesn't matter at all. It never has actually.
The root
Like
of our tool. Yep, the root of our tools against the government that are going to be effective, period, is everything under the supremacy clause. All the rest of it is bullshit. It's all bullshit. I got to disagree. You know, man, Terry versus Ohio is bullshit.
Yeah.
Qualified immunity is bullshit. It's bullshit.
Well,
Cops redressing us is bullshit. All right, I'm sorry, man, you know, but we're just going to have to agree to disagree, man. And this is the whole.
No, that's why I came here. I'll listen to. I won't say even dissenting opinions. I'll just say other opinions. That's what makes the world go round.
I'm not sharing my opinion, though. I don't want you to even get that impression. That's why I have citations for everything I say. It's not an opinion, man. This isn't a religion where we have no idea what God wants. We know what the law is.
It's logic. It's all logic, man. Terry versus Ohio and qualified immunity are illogical. Yeah. They are illogical as hell. And pursuing that avenue, you're just not going to get any traction, man, because there's nothing there. There's nothing there. The point is, Let's, you become the complainant, you file charges, you see them in court, and then you sue their asses. You get it all on the record. It's indelible. It always is going to be there. All this hemming and hawing about OTVO. Okay, I get that. And qualified immunity, I get that too. But the point is, man, none of that shit matters. It's like being in a top fuel dragster on sand and thinking that you're going to get anywhere. You know, you're just not. You're going to spin your wheels. That's all. You know, man. We've been brainwashed into thinking that by these, you know, certain auditors, and one of them I love dearly, but he's just going to have to change his way of thinking. You know, the approach has to be logical. The approach has to be lawful, which means constitutional. Anything else is a wasted effort, It's just wasted, man. You see, it's getting no traction. And, you know, Chile says it himself. It takes a generation to overturn anything that the Supreme Court has to say. Well, then fuck what they say, especially if it doesn't matter, if it's irrelevant. You know, dude, it's like trying to race in the 2024 Indy 500 with a car from. Well, maybe I'm making a bad comparison because the cars from 1986 would dust these new cars now. But you know where I'm getting, like last year's model. You're not going to be able to win. You cannot win.
The best car is the 1776 model.
Yes, exactly.
To use an aluminum piece of shit.
Right. You're looking at stuff that's only 60 years old or whatever, and that's what's dictating how the police and these public servants act, man. That is a battle we can't win.
Whatever the battle needs to be, then that's what I'll be in. And that's to stop these pigs from being able to do what they're currently doing. And and in my analogy that I'm trying to give, I'm talking about a three-legged stool. Some people think it's qualified immunity. Some people, like myself, were led to believe that Terry versus Ohio will solve all of our problems, not just the police putting their hands on you. I'll settle for rolling back Terry versus Ohio, but I understand we shouldn't settle for just Terry versus Ohio. We should settle for rolling it back from the 10th Amendment back. All right. So,
yep. Well,
I mean, you have to take steps to get there, maybe, or maybe you don't. Maybe you just wave the magic wand and we've eliminated everything.
Yeah, you need to get into the 1776 car and out of the car that you're in. Because that's just some boomer nonsense, I'm telling you.
Yeah, let me take that Chevy and put a turbo in it and everything else.
No.
Leave it horse drawn.
Go back to what the real law is.
Hey, with that, gentlemen, I gotta bow out. It's been nice chatting with you, and thanks everybody in the chat for your comments. Appreciate it.
All right, man. You're welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, Jack.
All right, you too. Thanks, man.
Yeah, bye now.
I think that might be, unless you got anything else, man, that might be a good place to wrap up.
Did we finish with the Fourth Amendment violation checkpoint?
Oh,
let's
no,
do it real quick. Okay,
sure,
so
yeah.
all these auditors, they're walking into these X-ray machines, and they're walking through them like it's nothing. Bro, that's not nothing. That's the first step. They feel, whether it's true or not, that you are subservient to them as soon as you start obeying them. And so that's the first step, is to get you disarmed, right? And then make you insecure in your person, maybe hit you with some radiation. I don't know anything about that. But what I do know is that these are public buildings, and when they try and block entry to your way to a public building, like if you refuse to go through these things, they're committing the crime.
Yeah, because you have the right to be secure in your person, property, and papers, right?
Yeah. And Second Amendment right to a personal protection device. And Sixth Amendment requirement of a warrant to even get a warrant. Did I say that wrong? Sixth Amendment confrontation clause. You need to have a person that's actually a complainant to swear a statement of damages against you. And it's just some pigs at a checkpoint. So who's the complainant? There isn't one. They're always going to pretend that the state can be. But if you're smart, you win that immediately. It's like, he's operating off of this 70s textbook that's just not working. And like Chili has the same ideas in his head about the case law precedent. That it's so supreme. Well, if it's so supreme, why didn't Chili get off? Well, I mean, Chili didn't invoke really any of his rights. He let his lawyer do his talking, and he only maybe invoked one and didn't do it very well. Let the guy lie. He didn't discredit the guy before he got on stand. He didn't move for dismissal just on the Sixth Amendment confrontation clause, which he could have done that before any arguments even went out. And then he didn't use a jury. So it's like, even if somebody wanted to go on his side, you know it's not going to be the judge that he just gets off, which, that's a 14th Amendment violation, equal protection under the law. They do it all the time. But the thing is, in order to get an appeal, you got to stand up and be like, this. I was securing my person on that sidewalk, Your Honor. And this man came up and started touching me, pushing me around, and seized me without a warrant, and dragged me off to jail. Constitutional violation, He never even had a complaint. He couldn't have got a warrant if he wanted. He was disorderly. The cop was disorderly. I placed him under arrest for disorderly conduct or harassment or assault or whatever it is in your state.
Well, kidnapping would be one too.
Kidnapping. Yeah. Well, yeah. Once they move you, right?
Right. And then it says, it's the U.S. code, I believe, that says something about committing crimes on the highway.
With kidnapping, moves it up to like the capital level, I think. I'm not
right.
sure.
Or going in costume on the highway committing crimes. That's another one that you could attach, because there's no doubt they're wearing costumes or disguises or whatever you want to call it.
If it comes to that, though, you might not have as good of a case as you think.
Well, that's something that you would. It's something that you attach anyway. Yeah, you make the attachments that you can.
Right.
Just like
5 pages long and stuff for a 10-minute interaction.
I got pulled over by a cop. I don't know. It was 3 months ago or something. And, he said, "Hi, how you doing? I'm blah, blah, blah with blah, blah Sheriff's Department." And I'm like, yeah, okay. I know. I saw you. As soon as he starts talking, right. As soon as he starts talking, I tell him, "Listen, Dogus interruptus." You know what? I'll allow this, just because I love dogs.
Yeah, me too. They're awesome.
Yep.
And Kitty's right here in my lap. Kitten. She's 16 months.
Yeah, I've known maybe 4 cats in my life that were actually worthwhile. The rest of them were just kind of like stuck up, effete snobs, man, with sharp claws. A dog can never be that.
Watching them.
Well, yeah, they're fun to watch play, but man, it's the times when they do shit that's like just malicious, like I don't know.
I'm always with them, so I don't really have to deal with that much. Maybe getting on the counter, they do that type of thing.
Yeah, I don't hate cats. Yeah, I don't hate cats. What were we talking about? Oh, I was telling you about when I got pulled over, and he started his bibble babble. He said, "Where do you, your muffler's a little bit loud there, bud," or I can't remember if it was that one or something else. And I said, "Okay." I turned on my camera, and I said, "Okay, I'm going to invoke my First Amendment. This is a cop protest. I protest to you pulling me over and getting in my way and letting me be about my business. I'm going to invoke my Fourth Amendment right, which means that you don't get to see my identification. You cannot seize my person. And, then I invoke my Fifth. And you can attach, like every single time they ask a question after you stand on your Fifth Amendment, that's a civil rights violation." And I went,
you into answering.
Yeah, he kept.
They know you don't want to.
Yeah, they keep asking because they think that you'll just give in. But he asked me where I was going, and I said that's 1. He said, "Where are you coming from?" I said that's 2. He said, "Where do you live?" I said that's 3. You want to keep going, man? Because these are all going to get attached to a civil rights lawsuit if you insist on going through with this stop. And at that point, he said, "Have a nice evening. Take care of the problem with the muffler. Take care of the problem with the license." My license wasn't revoked or suspended. It just expired, and I chose not to renew it because I don't have to. I got insurance. I got a registration. That's good enough. To keep me from just getting pulled over for no fucking reason. I know that you can do away with the license plates and hold like a personal liability bond or whatever it's not specific. It covers everything that you do. They're very expensive, but you probably don't even have to do that, really. It's a surety bond or something it's called.
Look, a cop might ask you for that bond, and what are you going to tell them? I'm securing my documents.
Exactly.
It's honestly, if they pull you over, show me your warrant.
Right, that's the first. Yeah, okay. That's my first mistake, I guess. But
put it all back onto them. Make them prove that they've got a reason to seize you. Otherwise, we're literally talking about their crime against you. And whether or not you can do a citizen's arrest in your state, you can still just file a criminal complaint for misdemeanor. Just file it.
Yep.
Email it. They've got a record. You don't have to verbally arrest them. You can tell them you're committing a crime, and I will file charges with the DA or whatever. I mean, unless you get arrested on the spot, but still, you're always going to point out that they're committing a crime because then that's what you're going to talk about in court.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, I get it. I get it, man. My thinking has been faulty. I'm still learning.
Well,
but
I mean, Chili knows so much about the law, but it wasn't enough, was it? And it's because he's just missing out on a couple of little things. Case law precedent isn't law. Supremacy clause are the laws that definitely apply to you, even on Tuesdays or Wednesdays.
Or Saturdays or Sundays or fun days or birthdays or, wedding days. Right?
Inalienable. Another thing is understanding the reasonable in the Fourth Amendment is the warrant. The reason to seize a person is the warrant. That one word trips up everybody. They're like, oh, so now it's just that the cop thinks it's reasonable. Now it's that the judge thinks it's reasonable. And he'll go ahead and write that down for you on a warrant.
Of course, because they're still beholden to that. But I think that the watershed moment is when somebody who does what you do actually wins a settlement from these people, sues them successfully, and gets them.
Well, I can do that anytime I want. I mean, come on, man. I've got as many constitutional rights violations as there are stars in the sky. Every time I arrest one of them and they refuse to process that criminal complaint, which means we need to get this guy in front of a judge or he needs to be booked into jail. One of the two. Every time they refuse, that's a 14th Amendment violation, equal protection under the law. Every time they kick me out of a public building or any of this stuff, these are all constitutional rights violations. They don't have any rights with me. So for them to show up and start making me do stuff or stay at the park until I just leave and disrupt my business, you know, these are all constitutional rights violations. They're essentially like basically automatic lawsuits. And I've got 20 of them online. It's actually more than that, but just with my local city here, it's 20. And yeah, I need to get up on that, but it doesn't change the facts. The facts are we've got a law. It's written down. They violate those laws all the time. Most states have great citizens arrest laws. Even if they don't, you can just press charges for whatever anyway. And then you have equal protection of the law. So it's not like they can just say, no, we're not going to prosecute because we don't want to, because now you can sue the DA for violating your equal protection under the law. So, I mean, the lawsuits, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. What matters is the law. The law already exists. I'm using it exactly the way it's supposed to be used because our country was designed before police existed. And so because of that, we have all these specific rights that are to secure our freedom. And the cops, they don't have anything written in to secure their right to fuck with us. So that puts them really at a disadvantage. All right, let's do another show next.
Yep, works for me, man.
The clips were good. We could do a whole clip show. If you could keep it short, because honestly, I don't need much information. Like, once I find out it's about a judge's order and freedom of speech, and, you know, once I know the topic, then I pretty much can just go on it.
All right, man. I just wanted them to, I was hoping they would work better than they did. And the longest one was 2 minutes. Maybe I'd keep it under 2 minutes or 60 seconds, maybe.
They just have so little information that it's irrelevant what the person even thinks because, it's like chili. I like chili, but I'm not subscribed to them because I can't take my time hearing about case law precedent or any of this other crap. Like, it's just nonsense to me. And so I can't even stay with it. And so, just a couple of points, really. We're already going to know the laws. That's the point. You don't have to be a genius for American law. It's not as complicated as these people are trying to make it out to be. They're like, oh, look how smart I am. I can cite Terry v. Ohio. No, dude, that's how confused you are. Just go right to the law, go right to the top. Just like that. Don't cite Poster 7. The Poster 7 is just describing the Constitution.
Yeah, and it comes from Department of Homeland Security. So how hypocritical does that make it?
Well, I don't know. I'm not for the thing that they do with the airlines, but other than that, I don't know that they do anything. I'm not totally sure. I'm not up on that stuff.
They are a gigantic money sink. That's what DHS is.
Yeah.
I mean,
right, and guy is going to get rich from signing this socialism contract. Oh, I've never signed anything with a T on it before because he just made a whole bunch of people happy, and they just make sure his second presidential term. To be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. All right, man. We'll figure it out for next Thursday, and if you want to send me a homework assignment for next week, just put it in the email, and I'll study.
Okay. I'll think on that.
And I'll try not to be too stupid when I talk about it.
I mean, hey, as long as we keep progressing in the conversation where it's like we're getting to this idea where we're understanding this shit's maximum and this is way below it, it's null and void. That's progress. These other auditors have been watching these audits for 10 years, and they are not really making progress towards the actual law. They're making progress towards like a bunch of gibberish. Like, and everyone's getting on the same page with it, but it doesn't help you. That's how many auditors are going to jail.
Yep, they're going to jail because they're not the complainants. They're not arresting the cops. They're not giving them orders. You know, that's the one thing that I absolutely agree with Chili on, is that you got to take charge of these pigs.
Yeah,
But
you're the boss.
But he's doing it mostly the wrong way. All right, listen, my brother. We'll cut it off at that. And thanks for showing up, my friend. And I'll see you in the emails, and then we'll make a plan for next week.
Awesome.
All right.
I appreciate your time. You're a great
Yeah,
host.
I appreciate yours. Thank you very much. And thanks to Let's for coming too.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to, show him a little bit of edification. That's all. We're like you said, we're breaking brainwashing at this point, and we have to do it in a way that's edifying, because
Well,
all of these auditors that are doing it wrong, dude, have value. And
yeah, but as long as they get corrected, their value can skyrocket.
absolutely. And then we're talking about getting somewhere as a country. All right, my brother, you have a good day. And thanks a lot, man. Take it easy.
Appreciate it.
Later, everybody.